And now let me invite for the last panel session today, the regulators from Republic of Macedonia, Montenegro, Bulgaria, and Albania. Mr. Shani, he was here. Okay, so once again, I would like to invite Mr. Ivaylo to join us for the panel discussion. And then I would like to invite Mr. Shamil Rexhepi, who is coming from energy and water regulator from Macedonia. Mr. Rexhepi has completed his studies at Ivaylo University in Turkey on Faculty of Economics, Management and Business. He has performed several important organizational and managerial functions in the Euro-Asian international associations, mainly related to the management of human resources, social and economic development. He has a considerable experience in regulating the energy sector in the Republic of Macedonia and is part of the Energy and Water Service Regulatory Commission since the establishment of this institution. And in addition to, I would like to invite Mr. Milica Tomić from Mrs. Yeah, obviously. Apologize, my deep apologize. And Mrs. Just let me find very briefly. Mrs. Tomić works in Energy and Water Regulatory Agency of Montenegro as an analyst in water department. She holds master degree in international economy and finance, and her master thesis was also about water regulation. So we have here regulators, and we would like to welcome you. And before I start with the question, let me ask first the audience, do you have any question based on the previous presentation you would like to ask the regulators at this moment regarding how? No? Okay, then it's my turn. And if so, I would like to ask, I have a question for Mr. Ivaylo. In Bulgaria, we have example that there is a private operator who delivers water services in the city of Sofia. In our Western Balkan countries, we don't have such experience of a private company delivering public services. And I would like to ask you, you as a regulator, do you see differences in asset management practices performed by private company and public companies? Are they differ? Are they the same? What is pros and cons for one or for the others?
Yes, thank you. In Sofia, there is a concession contract since the year of 2000. Initially, it was owned by a British operator, United Utilities, and then they sold their shares to Veolia, which is a French company. Actually, in the concession contract that was signed in the year of 2000, they put a lot of requirements for the asset management practices. So this concession actually provided ground for a realization of many of the good asset management practices in Bulgaria. For example, there was a requirement in the concession contract that the city of Sofia should be there should be district metering areas in the city of Sofia. So each DMA should cover a district with 10,000 people. So based on that, Sofia was divided into more than 200 DMAs in the first 11 years of the concession contract. Also, there was a requirement that the company should build GIS. And so Sofijska Voda is the only one company still in Bulgaria that has full GIS covering the whole service area. So in this respective, I think that in the area of asset management, concession contract was good for our sector. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. So it means that business practices from the private sector regarding the asset management implementation were very positive in the case of Bulgaria. Okay, thank you. Now I have a question to Mr. Rexhepi. Yeah, the water regulator was established some 6 years ago in Republic of Macedonia. And I would like to ask you about what is the experience so far regarding the asset valuation? Whether after establishing of the regulator, the asset valuation practices increase. And then I'm coming also from Macedonia. I know that there is always discussion about the not very well distinguished ownership of the assets, whether it belongs to who, to utilities or to the municipalities, and what are the challenges regarding this not very well defined ownership on the assets. And the third topics I would like to ask you is about the information. Information is very important when it comes to work of the economic regulators, particularly for tariff setting. And how do you manage with this, I don't know, central database of correct information at one place? So I hope it is not too much.
No,
No,
thank
okay.
you, Georgi.
Okay.
First of all, let me thank you for inviting us in this very important event. I say hello to everybody here in the room. Many of you I know many years ago. We start, as you say, in 2016 with a regulation of the very, let's say, chaotic sector. Water sector for us, like previously energy regulator with more than 20 years of the experience, was a new, let's say, challenge and new topic that was so easy to deal it. But as I say every time, and today Miss Maja also pushed me to say this again, that regulators minimize the issue of the retirement open questions. We are trying to deal with that and to fix it before retirement, and to let to the other regulators other questions. That is the difference between the utilities and the regulators from both sides. So we, as I said, we face a very chaotic system, and we put ourselves to regulate these issues. Asset management and asset valuation issue in the utilities was very poor because of the lack of the, first of all, there was a big lack of the coordination between institutions in the state level. Base of asset management is a good coordination of the institutions, of all the stakeholders in the system, and after that assets will be more procured and in more accurate way evaluated. This is the strong base for, let's say, economic part of regulation and also the tarification of the services. That is the reason that we are, as regulators, when we make the base for the future planning and future investment needs for one separate utility, we are strongly believe and strongly ask that assets should be evaluated in the more procured way. That's the reason, because that is the mirror, or that is the result of the services. The service quality in first of hand depends from the assets. Assets are the base for the better service quality. If our assets in the utilities are not in the proper way evaluated or shown in the papers, then we will lost ourselves in the fog. You see, the weather today outside is full with fog, and it's not good for utility to don't have open road in front. That's the reason that at all time utilities must insist to have a more proper asset valuation system in the place, and after that they will have also a good point that will be connected directly with the regulation and all the issues in this manner. In other part, when we are talking about information, fluid information and information flows in the sector. The very soon we are dealing now in North Macedonia with the indications of the service, with key performance indicators of the service of the utilities. And also in this point, we are making a lot of efforts to make some kind of standardization or let's say standardized approach of these indicators that are in field. Also the targets that they need to catch during the service period. This is a very important issue because the key indicators, or let's say the most important ones, were directly connected with the service quality, and the service quality in other side is directly connected with the assets. Assets, if they are very well maintained or very well build it in one strong base of information, then we will have more clear picture and the targeting will be in more clear based on more clear approach. If we don't have assets in clearly way build it and or put it in database, then we will not have the clear picture of that assets, and after that we will not have a clear targeting of this issue. That's the reason that accurate targeting or accurate functionality of the key performance indicators are very important. I can share with you just one experience from our short year, let's say 5 years of regulation. In one part of when we make some tariff review for a particular utility in North Macedonia, we changed a little bit the quantities of the water that were planned to be given to the citizens in particular area for the in 1 year, and we saw that results in effects very much in tariff. When you are playing with quantities directly, the tariff is going up or down for very huge amount of percentage. That means that with good asset valuation, with a good picture of the assets that is owned by the utility, the quantities will be shown in more proper way, and after that the tariff will reflect in more real level for all consumers. If we don't have proper shown assets or asset valuation or proper ownership of these assets for one utility, then in the end that means that tariff is not real. This will cost for the citizens to pay for something that is not real. If we are going to, our aim will be that proper regulation and real regulation, then we must watch on all these issues, because this is chain that starts from the very first implementation of the, let's say, SCADAs, GIZ, and all this, other issues that are directly connected with asset management, to the end, that is economic regulation and tariff that is affect pocket of every consumer in the country. In the part of, yes, the third point is ownership. In the part of ownership, also we face a lot of chaotic situation between the ownership or technical data of assets that are divided between the owners, that are municipalities, and the utilities that are service providers to the citizens. As regulator, we directly insist. We had a lot of meetings with the municipalities to transfer all these assets to the utility, because they will not gain any depreciation or any money for cost or for maintenance that will reflect in tariff if they are not owners of the assets. Utilities are pushed to make maintenance of asset without having ownership on it. It is very problematic. We face this issue in very first stages, but now, step by step, we are managing also in this part that municipalities are starting to transfer assets to this because the asset valuation makes sense when ownership is under methodology and under all other legal acts that are in force.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Shamil. And this is Tomić. Montenegrin regulator is the newest in the region established. Can you tell us about the first experience of regulating the sector? And do you consider at the very beginning to make it mandatory asset management practices to your water utility companies?
Thank you. And thank you also for the invitation and inclusion of Montenegrin regulator in this forum. Regulatory agency started its work in 2004, like regulator of energy sector, and from 2017 we regulated also water sector, and we already issued all required bylaws. It is benchmarking, rules of licensing, tariff methodology, and quality standard. And we are independent regulatory agency, which means that we are financially independent also, and we are financed by the fees paid by the operators of in the area of water. We are financed by the fees paid by the operators of these activities. And we need to mention that we have here one huge problem, because there is no rule or directive on European level that says that regulator for water needs to be independent, and this leaves space for political influence, and we face problems, and we face like pressure from all sides to be transformed into state administration, like a department within the ministry. But beside that, we are still working, and I will tell you a bit about our benchmarking and tariff methodology, and at the end, of course, about assets. Benchmarking was the first bylaw that we issued, and we collect data from the operators and then calculate indicators and indexes. And we also have problems with databases of the operators, which mentioned also other colleagues during the forum. And despite that, we just published our third annual report about benchmarking, and we're among all the obstacles and corrections and controls, we are still satisfied with our benchmarking, because we created huge database. And considering tariff methodology, we issued tariff methodology last June, and we already gave consent to 21 out of 24 operators, which is considered as a huge success, having in mind that almost every operator had problems how to force, almost every regulator had problems how to force operators to have like tariff requests. And we have here two main problems. One is that our regulatory period is only 1 year, so considering delays of the operators, it seems like this tariff approval process is like a never-ending process. And the second problem is that after our approval, there is needed also approval by municipalities. So this dual approval also leaves space for political influence. So we hope that at some point of time that will also be solved. And these prices are the first that are calculated on the same principles on Montenegrin level. Before that, we had prices that are low, and the prices were considered more like social than economic category. But now I think the sector is still in pretty bad condition, but regulatory mechanisms bring some changes, and we hope that the situation will be better in the following year, especially having in mind that we are expecting a new law on water services, which among other brings some crucial changes like aggregation of operators and we also propose to change laws about assets, because in current situation, assets are owned by municipalities, and municipalities are the ones that are obliged to build and maintain all the assets. But regulatory agency recognize this problem, and we propose, like within change of the laws, to change also this.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. Yeah. Before I address the last question to our panelists, do you have anything to add, to comment, or to address question to our guests? From the. I have a question. Yes. For Bulgaria. Can we have? Yeah. Can you just please?
Yes.
Your
My
name
name is Evis. I am a Deputy General Director of the Tirana Water Utility. I liked very much your presentation, and you mentioned that the regulator is responsible also to give instruction, or I don't know whether we're instruction or not, regarding the DMAs. So can you be more specific on that? What do you mean? What kind of instructions you give? Because I mean, what are the, do you mean what are the criteria for the DMAs to be established, or what? I didn't understand.
Yes, thank you for this question. We all know that the main requirements for the DMAs come from IWA, but before that, they were also provided with a water research center in the United Kingdom, I think from 1990s. So usually the water operator should be free to decide how to sectorize the network. It's not based on the design parameters of the network. It's mostly based on the problems that the operator accounts. So the operator should be free to decide whether to have larger zones or smaller zones. What we recommend is how to report this information. So it's mostly for the purpose of reporting, because this is a key performance indicators. So basically, we put requirement for the number of zones, and it's related to the number of villages in the service area. And the operator have freedom to choose how many zones should be built for one, should be made for one village. The other requirement that we have is about the type of measurement, because we do not recognize as DMA only to set a boundary and to put a water meter. We request that this water meter is connected with a data logger, is connected with a telemetry, gains or provides average data for each 15 minutes, and then it provides to the server of the company.
Thank you. Yeah, there is one more. Complete? It's okay? We have one more, two questions over there. Yeah. My question is.
My question is, because there are three regulators here, but Serbia has no regulator, it's better with or without? This is my first question. And second is also for Bulgaria representative, because they have also public and private services which made in Sofia, if they're achieved better non-revenue water results.
First answer. Okay, let me answer the first question. I will start with one question also from our side. For utilities, it's better to have daily pressure from the municipality, from the mayor, from the political party, or is better to work like economic body, like company that gain profit, that works in more accurate and proper way in economically point of view, or to have daily, as I says, daily pressure from the politics and from the mayor. us as regulators in North Macedonia, I think and I believe the same the other regulators face. In very first phase, there was a strange issue or thinking between the director of the utilities, what we will need to fulfill or what will be that big issue that the regulator will ask from us to do, because they thought that they will face new policemen in the front of the office tomorrow. But that was not the case. 1 year after we start the regulation, we face a lot of good words from the directors. They said directly to us, you save us from politics. You save us from the daily pressure from the municipalities, from the mayors, from the others in the municipalities. Because now we are free to think how the business can go forward. Because we are talking about one business. It's communal service, it's public service, but in the end of the month, the utility should have money in the pocket from the billing, from the service that they are giving. That's the reason that the regulation is best, the better, and step forward for the utilities, because they are free to have a more good planning and more better planning for the future without having pressure of the politics. If one neighborhood needs new pipe, the pipe will be there without thinking about elections or for votes. People need to drink water in the end of day. That's the reason, please choose yourself in Serbia. It's better with regulator or not. Thank you.
Yeah, if I may just add few comments on this. Of course, it's not a matter of fact, the regulation in the water sector exists and it must exist. It is the point, the question probably you addressed was whether it is better to have a national regulator, because it doesn't mean that the water service sector in Serbia is not regulated. It is regulated, but the form of regulation differs from the, and when we speak about the regulation in these three countries, we speak about the economic regulators. So the regulation is a wider concept. It's not only the economic regulation of the sector, but it is a bit wider concept. So it means that also the utilities without existing national regulator as institution and are not regulated. It doesn't mean that they are not regulated. They are regulated. The main point is to distinguish it and make it different institutions, make different decisions on policy level. So those who are taking policy should be one different level, one different type of institutions. Those making control should be different level, and those providing services should be the third level. The regulation means to avoid all these three different levels. How it is organized is a matter of fact of many local circumstances, interest, whatever, prospects for the future. So it is, yeah, that's my contribution in answering this question. Yes, sorry, Maja?
Yes,
To answer.
just to add that we are looking forward to have a regulator, and then hopefully on next conference, this chair will be full with our regulator. So I wish you all luck in your work, and I'm really happy that also Montenegro had regulator recently. Thank you.
Just to ask Ivaylo to answer that question, and I apologize, we need to close the session. Yeah, Ivaylo, very brief.
Just to finish the first question, the pros of national regulation is that in this, when you have a national regulator, each area of the country, each companies should be treated in the same way. So when you have local regulations, you have areas that are well developed. Big operators usually work well with their municipalities, not the case probably with the smaller companies, but they have different standards, which means that the people in the country are treated differently, which is not good. So having a national regulator that is independent, that is objective, means that treats all the companies in the same way and calculates the correct tariffs and we in Bulgaria, for example, we focus not on the tariff. We focus on the tariff components. Are they correctly calculated? What comes out in the model at the end? This is the result. I mean, it may be 30, 40% increase. That's it. Usually, in our case, the local municipalities, they do not want the companies to increase the tariff. So there is a lot of resistance. There is a lot of resistance from political parties. We have protests very, let's say, occasionally outside our windows. Now we are reviewing the new 5-year business plans. There is going to be quite a significant tariff increase for some areas, but it has to be done. And for the second question, the private company in Sofia did very, very big and dramatic optimization of the network, but still has, let's say, very large levels of non-revenue water. So we have some public companies that report much lower level of non-revenue water, both as percentage and as cubic meter per kilometer per day. For some of the companies, however, the data that they report is not quite reliable. So they report good KPIs, but with unreliable data. While at least for Sofijska Voda, the data is with good reliability.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you very much. Yeah, probably there is interest to continue, but thank you for your patience. Thank you for being with us for this long day.